study is Remember I Love You, a brief, very brief ethnographic study on the Lakota Sioux at Standing Rock, North Dakota. Excuse me. Yes. My social location and methodology. I am a biracial, cisgendered male from the southwest of the United States, raised Roman Catholic, currently Unitarian Universalist. Spirituality to me is not mystical, it is not magical, it is part of the universe, it is part of myself, part of everything. I believe that the universe has enough mystery and miracle without it being magic. So in Mark MLK's readings for this class, his sermon, The Transformed Nonconformist, was pivotal in my decision to go to Standing Rock. These are the lines that meant something. Honesty impels me to admit that the transformed nonconformity, which is always costly and never altogether comfortable, may mean walking through the valley of the shadow of suffering, losing a job, missing a class, or having a 6-year-old daughter ask, "Daddy, why do you have to go to jail?" In these days of worldwide confusion, there is a dire need for men and women who will courageously do battle for truth. We must make a choice. We will continue to march to the drumbeat of conformity and respectability, or will we, listening to the beat of a more distant drum, move to its echoing sounds? Will I march only to the music of time, or will I, risking criticism and abuse, march to the soul-saving music of eternity? The drum beats in Standing Rock. The reason: clergy call to action, October 28th. 100 militarized police from 5 different states arrest 117 water protectors at the North Camp, nearest to the Dakota Access Pipeline. Camp morale decreases. That day, Father John Floberg, an Episcopal priest who has been a spiritual leader within the Sioux community for over 25 years, puts out a denomination call for 100 clergy to come and stand with Standing Rock to restore the narrative of prayerful, peaceful, nonviolent, and lawful action to help in the de-escalation of police violence. November 3rd, 500 plus clergy from over 20 faith traditions gathered to the summons, welcomed by the Sioux tribes. 7 denominational leaders present the doctrine of discovery to the 7 tribal elders. The doctrine is burned. Clergy and First Nations march to the pipeline for prayer and witness. 8 militarized police officers turn in their badges in protest over the force used against peaceful protesters. The question for myself and my ethnographic study is, what is Lakota spirituality in active resistance? And these are 2 pictures, one side of the road, the other. What's going on? Lakota Sioux, part of the once Great Sioux Nation, First Nations people living here in the United States upon discovery. They're part of the 7 Fires Council. They're actually made up of a confederation of multiple tribes, conquered by the American government, relocated to the Standing Rock Indian Reservation.
You may be asking yourself right now, what is going on out there in North Dakota? Pipelines, pepper spray, 141 arrested in a weekend, while others continue to block the construction of the oil mega project that some are calling a death sentence. If you blinked and missed some of the news, here's what you need to know. The proposed Dakota Access Pipeline will stretch 1,172 miles from the oil fields of North Dakota to a terminal in Illinois and transport 570,000 barrels of Bakken crude oil every day. Its construction will bulldoze through native burial grounds and cross the Missouri River, treacherously close to the Standing Rock Sioux's primary source of drinking water. That's troubling because oil pipelines are notoriously leaky, to the tune of 3,300 leaks recorded in the U.S. in the last 6 years alone. All of this fits into an ugly pattern in American history. Let's take a short tour. By 1868, settlers had overtaken almost half of the Great Sioux Reservation established by the Treaty of Fort Laramie. In 1874, miners seized another 1.3 million acres of the newly reduced reservation. In 1958, the Sioux lost 200,000 more acres to a flood caused by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the same agency currently fast-tracking Dakota access. At the core is the issue of tribal sovereignty, the Sioux's right to adequate say in decisions affecting their ability to survive. The pipeline was redirected by Standing Rock after Bismarck residents accused an earlier proposal of threatening the city's water supply. In other words, the Sioux are battling an ecological hazard that a primarily white city already refused. For now, the Sioux are digging in for a cold winter in North Dakota as construction begins north of the river. President Obama recently said the government is exploring options to reroute the pipeline.
So that's kind of a crash course as to kind of what is going on over there. Much more quickly and concise than I would be able to do it. So the scene, I arrive at camp at 2 o'clock in the morning, pitch dark, probably freezing. It's North Dakota in winter. We get so it's a long story. So I flew into Bismarck, thought that I had a ride hooked up, ended up not being there. So I hitch a ride with a young Asian American woman, a Korean journalist, and a retired Methodist clergy, which we all piled into a rented Ford F-250. And left Bismarck Airport at like 11:30 p.m. Arrived at the camp at 2 o'clock a.m. At the camp, there are very specific rules. No drugs, no alcohol, and definitely no weapons. Those are steadfast rules and some of the only rules in the camp. We were instructed, once we pitched our tents, to offer things to the sacred fire. There is a commons in the middle of the camp where everything happens. Announcements happen, ritual happens, storytelling happens, drumming happens. That is like the central part of community life at the Sacred Stones camp. There is a fire burning there that has been burning from the very beginning. When the 7 tribal councils came together, made the decision to protest the pipeline, they ignited this fire and it's been burning ever since. Tended consistently hour after hour by a group of fire protectors. We were instructed, once we got everything set up, to go to this fire to offer tobacco as a gift and as a sacrifice, sage for cleansing and healing, which is probably what you're smelling in the room right now, sweetgrass for invocation and attraction spirits, and if you want to smell the sweetgrass, you can, and cedar for protection and binding. Pitch dark out there. The only lights we can see are the ones on the horizon that are lighting the way for the building of the pipeline. We find our way to the sacred fire, and there is a Sacred Stones elder sitting with a very small group of people telling creation stories. He invites us into the circle, allows us to offer medicine, which is how these are referred to, of which on the north part of the fire circle are bags of these elements. We were invited to take what we needed and offer it to the fire. And he said in his story, I remember this, Because the sins of the people before us, the creating power caused a large rain. And with his dancing, cracking the earth, releasing the earth's blood, which is how they refer to as the sacred water. Then out of mud he created a new land and replaced the earth's blood with his own tears. The smoke from his pipe created all living things. And out of different colors of earth he created human beings. He told our grandfathers and grandmothers to live in harmony with his creation, or else he would destroy the world again. I might get a little emotional with this story in particular. The spirituality of the Sioux, a people of story and memory. In the morning of the camp, about 6:30 every day, I didn't know this upon getting there, a great booming voice goes out over the camp. It's already pitched, it's still pitch dark at that time. The sun is barely coming over in the east. This voice calls out, "Wake up. Come to the fire and pray. Pipe bearers, sun dancers, come, wake up. That black snake is not going to move itself." And this keeps on happening over and over and over. I finally am able to convince myself to brave the cold, get out of my sleeping bag, and come to the sacred fire. After the morning prayers, an older, I would say middle-aged gentleman came to the circle and asked if he could speak, and this was what he said. He had, and as a background, he had hitchhiked from New Mexico to be here. "I had to come here. I know what you feel. It has happened to my people too. We were slaughtered. My grandfathers and grandmothers were moved into the res. Their children were taught by the white man. His mission was to strip the Indian from the Indian through education and religion. I was an angry young man. I struggle with violence and addiction. It wasn't until I found my people and my culture that I could remember who I was and was able to leave my demons behind. I bring you my pipe," and he produced this in pieces. "I offer it to you in peace, peace for all of us. Those brothers and sisters out there with the black snake have forgotten who they are. Let us pray in peace that they remember. They are not bad people. They must remember who they are." This is a very telling example of the spirituality of this camp. They do not demonize the people on the other side. The police officers that have shot them with rubber bullets and pepper spray and tear gas. The people building the pipeline, they are not bad people. They must remember who they are. The song I was playing at the very beginning was the song that this man would sing as he built his pipe, lit the tobacco, and passed it around the circle for us to smoke, in solidarity and in peace and in prayer. Aside from the clergy action, I volunteered as a chaplain in the camp. They had a certain section set up for mental health. I was in conversation with a Standing Rock resident, middle-aged woman who works in suicide prevention for youth on the reservation. "I pray with my son every night. He's 9 years old. He prays with his grandmother, and she has been deceased for a long time. We talk to her and ask her to protect us and guide us. The other night, I go into his room and I notice empty plastic bottles all over his room. I ask him what they're for. He told me that he was talking to grandmother, asking her to help him and his family. He said that she told him to get ready to collect the sacred water out of the Missouri River. Because when the pipeline breaks, he would need to save the water so he can save his people. The only way he knows how is to put it in plastic bottles. No 9-year-old boy should have to worry about how to save his family. I pray he doesn't have to. One of the tribal elders, the pipeline people came to us. They showed us a map and said, point to where your people are buried. We'll make sure we don't build the pipeline over them. He didn't understand. That is like me asking him to show me over the fields of Gettysburg the exact spot where his great-grandfather had died in the Civil War. This land holds the bones and blood of our people. It is in the sacred water. Their lives have become the lives of the grass and the trees, the plants and the animals. Every inch of that pipeline is the desecration of our holy land, a desecration of our people. How would they like it if we built a freeway through Arlington National Cemetery? If only they could see through our eyes and remember how to be human. And as we were on the bridge, facing the police in a giant circle of over 500 people praying, one of the elders said this: "They killed our people. They moved us to a land where they said had nothing of value. That was what they left to us. And now, as soon as our land has value again, the white man comes back and tells us that our land is theirs. Their cities," referring to Bismarck, "told them they wanted to protect their water, to move the Black Snake to the res. Nobody would care about some Indians in North Dakota. But we're out here praying for us and for them. They can't see that if they kill the blood of the earth, that they poison our mother. When they hurt us, they hurt themselves. When they hurt the land, they hurt themselves. They are filled with so much pain, which is why we have to pray for them, which is why we protest in peace." At the very beginning of the action, the clergy action, the elders, and this is after the burning of the Doctrine of Discovery, the elders had a ritual and told us, for all of us who were gathered, "Cup your left hand, in it we will pour the sacred water. Your left hand is closest to your heart. Drink it and pray for the water. Mini Watoni, water is life." The water was passed around. They poured it into our left hand and we drank. "Clean yourself with sage. Ask for forgiveness. Pray for our enemies. Make sure your heart is pure as we march onto that bridge, that they see only love." And so they took a giant bucket of burning sage and passed it around. The circle gathered, and we all blessed ourselves with it. "Then take a piece of cedar, put it in your shoes for protection and for speed. that their rubber bullets not touch you, that their mace not hurt you. You are protected by the Great Spirit. You are blessed by our fire. Once again, they go around the circle with pieces of fresh cedar, and we put tiny little pieces inside each of our shoes. And then we marched onto the bridge. So what difference does this spirituality make? What I learned is that this is a spirituality rooted in interconnection. The Lakota Sioux truly believe, at least the ones that I talked to and the stories I gathered, really believe that the other are not bad people. That their job, through their prayers, through their bodies, through their actions, are all meant to help the people on the other side remember who they are. And so what is the difference? 8 police officers turned in their badges. 8 people had a conversion of heart. That's what they prayed for. And especially, to bring it to today, with the election of Trump, with the rise of hate crimes, with the installment of white supremacists into the highest offices of power closest to the president, what I learned in Standing Rock will help keep me honest as a minister. Because I want to hate the other. I do. I want to hate my friends and family who voted for Trump. I want to scream and yell and throw things at them and to do violence. What I learned here taught me humility. And so in some way, even I was converted, had a conversion of heart. And so when I find myself getting angry, I remember Standing Rock. And they need it. They need our prayers, they need our help. Just last night, protesters were shot with water cannons and tear gas in sub-zero temperatures, with no way to get warm, with no medical services. I don't know what the outcome is yet. I haven't heard, but they are still fighting. I can live without oil. I cannot live without water.